Welcome to the Aligned Leader podcast. Our guest today is Preston Hoopes. Preston is a general manager, Northern California, for Suffolk Construction Company. Preston is a second generation general contractor who takes deep pride in developing talent and achieving client project success. Preston has worn many hats throughout his career, leading almost all cross functional teams: sales, pre construction, operations, and self perform. His project background is also diversified, having worked and led teams on ground up and tenant improvement projects in the healthcare, high rise multifamily, both construction and development, as well as mission critical semiconductor and commercial campus market sectors. He has successfully led the building of multiple successful business units for Swinerton Builders and McCarthy Building Companies, and now leads Suffolk's Northern California region. Preston and his wife Chloe are the proud parents of two future third generation builders, Harper and Presley. Welcome, Presley. Welcome, Preston. Glad to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you, Nick, for having me. Real pleasure. Looking forward to the discussion and having some fun with it. So,
Absolutely, I'm excited about this as well. I just talking to you a little bit about your background. I think there's some really great discussion that we can have today. So let's get started.
let's do
Tell
it.
me a little bit about you recently moved to Suffolk. Tell me a little bit about that and how you came about that.
Yeah, it's a funny story, and it took me about a year to finally meet John Fish. My dad used to lead Swinnerton. He was CEO for 10 years, and I bled blue for a lot of years, and he retired just pre-COVID, February of 20, and found his way back about a year ago to Suffolk, running the West Coast, and I saw that as a great opportunity for good competition, and that's just how I'm built. And so we lived that out for a long time, and seeing him come out of retirement and finding his way over to Suffolk and really understanding who they are as a business and the innovation that John's leading with the team. I mean, the investment they're doing in AI technologies amongst many other technology startups, and how John wants to leave a legacy to revolutionize the construction industry really grabbed my attention because this is all about legacy. That's what we do as builders, right? And when you move the end zone posts out of the way, and you don't really have an end zone anymore, is how do you impact the future generations, and how do you leave the legacy behind to create something better than we all had, and help solve the talent gaps that we're dealing with. So that was something that really intrigued me. Then going back to Boston and meeting with Mr. Fish was just incredible. The visionary, perspective he has, aligned with the success my dad's really had on the West Coast over the years, leading Swinnerton, who's one of the prominent builders here, and having those two guys as mentors. There's not another opportunity in the world like it for me to continue to learn how to be a better builder and leader, and carry it on for future generations.
Absolutely. And it's not like you're a spring chicken in the construction industry. I mean, you've been in the construction industry for almost 20 years. So
Yeah.
it's not like you don't have a legacy yourself. But like you said, the ability to work with mentors that are titans in the industry, that has got to be just a most awesome experience. So let's talk a little bit about mentorship.
Yeah.
How does your father? You're gonna be working for your father now, and you're
Yep.
also working for John Fish, and you consider them your mentors. Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah, mentorship's important. My father's always been my mentor, but he's always been my father too. So I had outside of him, I had a gentleman, Dana Jones, out of Texas. He was really a sales account executive his whole career, and I got the chance to work with him when I rejoined Swinnerton after having my first kid. And Dana was just a wealth of knowledge, how to deal with people, how to manage people, and so he had a totally different perspective than I got from my father. Right, my father's the CEO at the time of Swinnerton, and there's layers and layers between us. And I get to work with really industry experienced gentlemen like Dana, who taught me the life, just life values. How do you show up every day? How do you treat your clients? How do you deliver for your clients when you look them in the face and tell them you're going to do X, Y, and Z for them? How do you help make sure the teams do that? And Dana was one of those mentors that just, he also taught me how to be a girl dad. And that's something my dad couldn't. I'm the middle of three boys. And it's a different level of sensitivity or empathy I have to have every day. And he was a really, really big part of my career development. And I look at that and really cherish those moments and those discussions. And he was my boss, but he was also someone I leaned on for more than just personal advice, right? It was a lot of the professional and just the well-rounded world advice. Another gentleman I had, operations focus. This was early in my career as a project engineer, building a big hospital with Kaiser, Northern California. Joe Favallaro, and he was the senior superintendent on site, general superintendent, I guess his real title was for the site. And every day he would take me in the field, and I'd spend an hour to 2 hours a day with him walking the site. And he would point things out, and he'd challenge me on them, and have me go back and follow up on things. And he'd sit me down in his office. I mean, he was diligent about it. And he'd sit down in the office the end of the day and follow up on things from days prior. What'd you learn? Where are they at? And just those kinds of touch points with people are so special to have. And it's not something that has to be very formal. It's something that it could be your boss, it could be someone else, but it's having those deeper relationships and trusting in them that they have your priorities in order and in mind as you move forward. And Joe's someone I've kept with my entire career, and followed him, and we're friends on Facebook and all those things, and friends with his son, who's my age, and he just took a special interest in me, and it's something that really changed my career. So I think when we think about mentors, it's not having just one. I was blessed to have a father. I do, and that's a blessing and a curse, double-edged sword, right? And you gotta find the mentors that know those specifics really well, because your sales mentor is not going to be your operations mentors,
Right.
and your operations mentors is probably not going to be your people mentors. And so how do you work with that? Is it an HR professional that really understands people and how to navigate challenges and family dynamics or situations your employees are going through, and how do you help them? Right. And you gotta kind of have a army that helps you navigate all these things. But
Right.
the when you ask people for help and you sincerely want help, I couldn't tell you a single person that's ever told me they wouldn't help me
Right.
in my career. And so it's taken the pride out of the way. It's taken the pride that you know more than anyone else, and getting the different perspectives, because the our upbringings, our project challenges, the projects we've worked on, all shape who we are and how we see the world. And to get all those different perspectives and just kind of shape the path you want to go. It's not saying I took their advice every time, but it may have molded the path I was going to take and
Right.
changed it, maybe put another curve in there, or slowed me down and made me think a little differently about something, which enhanced it. And that's just super important. So I
Absolutely.
encourage I encourage so many young professionals nowadays, and I think there's a fear around it as we get behind the technology, and we're seeing that with our younger talent, that we like to hide behind the computers, we like to stay to emails. It's just going to grab lunch, it's going to grab a cup of coffee, it's going for that job walk twice a week or three times a week with that individual. It will change your career,
Right. Right.
and it will change you as a person, make you a better person. So
Absolutely.
super important.
Yeah, I agree with you. I remember my father giving me a piece of advice. And my father wasn't college educated. I just graduated from West Point. I thought I was the be all, the know all. But my father gave me very sound advice. He said, you're going into the army. Yes, you're the leader, but you got a platoon sergeant that's been there for 16 or 18 years. He's seen it all, done it all. And so lean on him. If he knows his stuff, tell him to teach you. And I at first I thought, well, yeah, okay, what does my dad know? But you know what? I took that advice and it served me very well.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, coming out of college or starting young, we all think that, oh, we're supermen. We don't need anybody else. But the reality is that mentors can really shape you. And the ones that refuse mentors, I'm not saying they can't be successful, but it does really help to have a sounding board, to have somebody to say, hey, look, you may not like what I'm going to tell you, but listen to me, and then do with it what you think is right. And now today, I have several mentors because I don't know it all. And I do know that, hey, sometimes relying on my own judgment isn't always the right thing for me. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about, at what point did you say, hey, I need this person as a mentor? Or was it they were a mentor, you didn't realize it until later that, oh, wow, the power of that mentorship really helped shape my career, really helped shape who I am today?
Yeah, I think that's a great comment. It's really the latter. At the time, these are people I reported to. These are people I confided in on a daily basis. So you're not looking at them as a mentor. And it wasn't until really I left that project, or until Dana Jones retired, that I look back and go, yeah, no, I still need these people in my life.
Yeah.
This is important. And those times you cherish and you really, I do a lot of reflection, just growing up in the sports world and really being a high level athlete in that regard. Reflection on games, reflection on conversations, meetings. And I carry that forward in my professional life and really thinking back on those moments and those projects to where you're having those conversations and what that meant to you and didn't realize at the time, whether you're frustrated or not, and your boss is telling you to do the extra 10%. Go do this, go do that. They're doing it for a reason. And they're doing it for a reason beyond that you can see at the moment because you're stuck in the weeds or you're stuck on your path only and not seeing the bigger
Right.
picture.
Right.
And to your point, it's really when I stepped away and I moved on to the next job and I didn't have that same person I could rely on. When I picked up the phone and called them and asked for help, and they were willing to call, I mean, just ecstatic. I called them. That I really realized those are the people that were mentors to me in that moment, and I wanted to carry them forward with me.
Right.
And that's really it's really important. I remember this conversation I had with this young project engineer. He was a estimator for us, and this just recently. This is a couple weeks ago, and he went out in the field to go run a project with the team. And the note I got from him the other day was I mean, almost gave me a tear. And he goes, "The advice you gave me to get to know your foreman on the site and spend time with them and understand how to build and ask questions." He goes, "I was so intimidated by these guys and I was really struggling to get anything done or help push the job forward." And he goes, "That advice changed my whole career." He goes,
Wow.
we're moving. He goes, "I'm getting it. Anything I need to go ask for help. They're right there to help me. And they're teaching me." He goes, "I thought, I'm not a field leader. I'm in the office, but," he goes, "I thought I couldn't do that." And I go, "That was the best advice I ever got from some of my other mentors, you know." And I look at all these gentlemen as mentors that taught me these lessons. And it's really important. It's really important. So that seeing that hit full circle for me was just awesome.
Yeah. That's, the oftentimes we talk in training that, hey, if I can teach somebody else how to do this, then I actually know what I'm doing versus the theory of me knowing what I'm doing. I remember probably midway through my career in the military, I had a one-star general. What he was my boss's boss, and I remember him coming to me one day and said, "Hey, what do you want to do with the rest of your career?" And I was like, "I don't know what that means. In the army, you get promoted, you're expected to do certain jobs." And I was like, what does that mean, sir?" And he said, "Well, do you want to be a staff officer the rest of your career, or do you want to be a commander?" And I said, "Well, I want to be a commander." And he said, "Well, go out and do it." And again, I was like, I'm a little confused. I'm scratching my head a little bit. And he said, "Look, if you want to be a battalion commander, go find a battalion to command."
Yep.
And I took that little piece of advice, and for the next 6 years or so in my career, I had multiple commands because I was always seeking a command because I was like, hey, this is what I want to do with my life. But he didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to say, "Hey, what do you want to do?" He could have just said, "Well, hey, you're a staff officer, you're doing a good job or you're doing a bad job, etc." But he took the time, and I so appreciate it. I still stay in contact. I retired from the military 10 years ago. He probably retired 15 years ago, but we're still in contact because he just a few crumbs that he laid for me meant so much for me. And I've always tried to give back. The same thing that you're talking about. Trying to teach people that mentors are important parts of their life. And sometimes we stumble upon them, like you and I have both stumbled upon mentors,
Yeah.
but then we come to the actual self-actualization that, having a mentor does not hurt. And I know that your father is still a mentor of yours.
Yep.
Tell me, now, with a lot of retrospect, he's your mentor. He's been your mentor. Now he's also working for the same company. Tell me how that relationship has changed over
Yeah,
the years.
that's a great one. So, at Swinnerton, we were levels and levels apart, right? And so we didn't cross paths in the business organization at that point. When he retired, we started fishing together. We did competitive bass fishing tournaments, and he was my
Oh, wow.
fishing partner. So he and I got to know my dad on a different level at that point in life. And this is recently. We stopped fishing about a year ago. Just tournament got shut down, and then he went back to work, and we both got busy with children, and I got busy with children and sports and all that. But we spent 5 years on a boat together fishing competitively.
Wow.
And so really getting to know my dad on that level, and just as a friend, as a dad, and outside of him being a boss figure, was really transformational, right? And so as I went down, he went back to work for Suffolk. I looked at him as competition. I kind of laughed, and we'd have those family meetings and joke about it because we're just extremely competitive people. And there's a point I hit to where I felt like I wasn't learning anymore. And to see him having fun and see him excited about what he's doing, it reminded me he had some heart problems he was dealing with after retirement. And he got those fixed, and he reminds me of the dad he was 15 years ago now. He's got the energy back, and seeing the smile on his face and really loving what he's doing, putting deals together, and making clients and people happy. Um, either I could fight that and defend that I'm my own guy now, and I'm my own professional, and I made my own way, and get out of the shadow of everything, or I could lean in and continue to learn. And yeah, really, really happy with this upcoming opportunity. I was the last one to interview. They interviewed candidates for over a year. It's just not something that was handed to me, and I didn't know that until after the fact, that how many candidates they interviewed, and candidates that went back to Boston and met with John Fish and team, and to come to find out that John saw something in me that he believed in, and here we are today. And it's really an exciting moment to lean in with him, continue to learn, and not shy away from the father son aspect of it. I mean, we'll handle business as business is and be professionals about it, and make sure that if there's any sensitive moments, we bring in other folks to manage it, to keep the nepotism concerns out of the way,
Right.
because that's what's best for the business and everyone else. But to lean in with him and really keep building a legacy, building something great, building something I hope my daughters can carry on for us, and my nephew and niece, and the other legacy there is just something that it just doesn't happen. So this opportunity is pretty special.
That's really cool. You know, it's awesome that you were able to interview for this job, not knowing, you know, I mean, yeah, the natural assumption is, oh, well, that just makes sense, right? But
Yeah.
so many people interview for this job, and like you said, John Fish saw something in you that he didn't see in all the prior candidates for a year. Wow,
It's
that's
a
a
long time.
long time. That's hey, we're being intentional about who we've got to have the right person. That's awesome. And then to
Yeah.
find out that, oh, you know what? Well, my father is going to be part of this equation, but I've got to make sure that, hey, we keep the fact that, not hide the fact that we're related. Everyone knows that, but we keep the fact that, there's always going to be a concern about nepotism, and we've got to be conscious about how we deal with that so that it, it's it becomes plaintively obvious that there's no nepotism involved, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool. Tell me a little bit about what is your most proud accomplishment, whether it's a work related accomplishment or a personal accomplishment.
I'd say my most proud is being able to be an involved dad still. Um, I've accomplished a lot in my career. I mean, I can go back to, I mean, some of my young goals. I go through kind of the chapters of my career and the goals I had, and trying to beat where my dad was as a vice president at what age he was, and I was able to do that. Those things, and you go back and you go, those are really short sighted. Um, they really are. It is kind of funny to think back on that, what you push through and what you go do. Most thing I'm proud of is being a dad. It really is, and being able to that changed my career. That changed who I was as a leader. It gave me a totally different perspective on life, and being able to be here for my wife and children if I need to, and having that flexibility for our employees to do the same thing. I think is one of the greatest things, and one of the things I'm most proud of for sure.
Excellent, outstanding, and yeah, I often tell. I mean, I'm a recruiter. I often tell candidates, hey, this is a job. It's important, but your family is also very important. I've had several. I recruit engineers. I've had several engineers say, hey, look, I've got a son that's in the 12th grade. I can't relocate right now because I don't want him to miss that 12th grade year experience, or they're third year in college and they live they live nearby. I don't want to move across the country because
That's
I
right.
want to keep that personal relation as close, because eventually, you know your children are going to go one way, you're going to go a different way, and there may not be times when you're as close to your kids as you like to be. And so, yeah, that's I do think that that's extremely important, because your family, your job will eventually go away. You'll retire someday, but your
Yep.
family is going to be your family, and you don't want to be a stranger to your family. And I don't know how else to put that, but you know, being in the military, I saw that a lot of separation from my family. My father was gone a couple of years as well, and it's like, hey, it's a sacrifice you have to make. It really is a sacrifice. I didn't mind making that sacrifice, but my family, you know, they were affected as well, and
Yeah,
so
they
I
are.
think that, yeah, family first is extremely important,
Yeah,
extremely
we
important.
moved. We moved 8 times before third grade for me.
Oh, wow,
Job to job to
yeah,
job. Hit
oh,
downslopes in the economy all over the place, and
yeah,
not. I think I moved twice with my family now, and that's something I'm proud of, and that's something
yeah,
I didn't want to recreate. But those lessons, those experiences, having to make new friends, having to navigate life, and those, I mean, that all made me a better person too,
yeah,
and being able to see things differently than others.
right, right.
So
My
there's a lot you take from it, and you look back and you can be upset about it, or you can look at the positives. So
Yeah. Well,
it's really
you
important.
know, uh, experiences, whether good or bad, are still life experiences, right?
They are.
They do shape your personality. They do shape how you deal with others. And I mean, I moved all my life. My wife moved all her life. I've got a cousin that has lived in New York and Washington D.C. all his life, and I really don't understand that. But now I've lived in the same place for 10 years. It's the first time in my life I've lived anywhere for more than 5 years. And it's like, hey, this isn't bad. This is not bad at all. I kind of like this. So, I do get that. Tell me, if somebody wanted to get into the business and get to where you're at today, what advice would you give them?
I think you said it earlier, and it was the lesson you got from your mentor. You're empowered. You're empowered to go create your path, and that's something. a lot of people don't understand or can overcome that barrier. Like when I started those businesses for Swinnerton and McCarthy, these are things, there's a business McCarthy's never done. We started self-performed drywall. I started a tenant improvement business for them at the same time. Two businesses together, both super successful today. Um, but that's a path I had to create for myself. That wasn't a path that was created for me. And I remember back sitting on this job, and it was 2009 or 10, and the economy, we were in the Great Recession, and all my friends from college, I graduated in '08 from Chico State, and all my friends from college got laid off. And I was one of the only ones. I was on a healthcare job. That was great advice I got. Go to a big healthcare job because those are going to keep going and sit in those markets. And I reached out to my dad and I said, "Can you come give us a lesson on how to sell work?" And I was 24 years old at the time. And I wanted to learn how to sell work because it was upon all of us as employee owners in that business to take those steps and secure our future because who else were we relying on? You,
Right.
you really think about that. I remember sitting down, he came in with a PowerPoint and he sat the whole team down. So this is how you do it. And gave us a different perspective on what selling work is. You're not a used car salesman.
Right.
We have it. Clients need our service, so we have a service to provide. So how do you educate the client on what those services are and how do you show up as a partner? And we had those discussions, and there was something that just intrigued me, right? And from that moment on, I'm not one to sit still. If I ever hit a roadblock, I'm one to push through it, and that's just who I am as a person. But I've seen other individuals like that project engineer I was talking about. You're empowered to go get the advice from the foreman. You're empowered to go have those conversations and overcome any obstacles in front of you. And if you don't feel empowered, you need to work on that and get a mentor that can help you overcome those challenges because once you're empowered, you can accomplish anything of your wildest dreams. I mean,
Right.
that's really important. And like to the advice he gave you, like that is some of the most important advice anyone can get. And
Yeah.
if they can get over those barriers to entry on what empowerment means and taking control of your professional career and personal life and making your personal life better if you need to, that's really how it all happens. I mean, that's the American dream right there, right?
Yeah.
And see, John Fish started Suffolk Construction. He's dyslexic, and to this day has assistants helping him navigate his dyslexia, and he overcame all those barriers and has built a $8 billion a year business
Wow.
being dyslexic. And so you think about just challenges you have in life and how do you overcome them? You can sit back and be a victim, or you can take charge of your life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really
Wow.
important to take charge of your life, and that's how you change your career.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent advice. Excellent advice. I want to switch a little bit and talk briefly about talent management. Now, I know that you're new to Suffolk, so we don't necessarily need to talk about Suffolk in talent management, but you've been in the construction industry for almost 20 years. What kind of challenges, what challenges perhaps did you see when you first entered the business, and how has that changed over the past 20 years?
It has changed so much. I mean, when I entered the business, we were just kind of on the cusp of really starting educational programs. Turner Construction, I think, led the march on really the Turner program and teaching young individuals. A lot of companies followed suit with that. The stuff we're doing today is it's pretty amazing. The peer groups, um, the mentorship programs we set, or sponsorship programs, however you want to call that. But I think any of your key top 10 builders are all doing this. Um, but the gaps we have in talent are severe right now. We have some gaps. We had gaps from the Great Recession when people stopped hiring and individuals went to other industries. And now we look at a gap, really a middle management gap, like the really good project managers, senior PMs. You're just in the Bay Area. The Bay Area specifically is seeing different challenges than the rest of the world. We with COVID got shut down, and those empowered individuals have left the area. Most of them. They
Mm.
didn't sit back and say, "I'm just gonna, we're gonna sit here and shut this down, and I got to live this life." No, they went other places to where there's opportunity. They changed their lives. They took control of their lives. They moved out of the area. So we have a talent deficit in the Bay Area. I think that's greater than a lot of people understand or why it is there. And that's kind of my perspective on it and what we're starting to see as we're hiring. So it really comes down to making sure we have people getting to wear the many hats like I have in my career. To run a pre-construction group. What is it to buy out a job? And working with seasoned individuals and that later generation that has 5 years to 7 years left, to teach them and educate them on those certain items, and really getting all those experiences as you work through it and getting paired up is super important. And getting, on a big project, you have a project engineer, and I did this to start my career where I got to run flooring, paint, drywall, and I did that for 3.5 years. I did the same like 4 trades for 3.5 years, and I didn't get exposed to anything else. And it really took me raising my hand, going, "I want to see the whole picture. I
Right.
want to get a chance to see the rest of this. How do I learn, the structural part? How do I the civil, all those things, and getting the cross training you need to really understand how to be a builder." And we allow our individuals now or talent now to hide behind the computer a little too often or don't push it hard enough. But I think as we get into it, you can only learn so much from AI. You can only learn so much from Googling, the internet and whatnot. I think it's really important for our younger individuals to develop their people skills. As we see AI going to change our industry, it's going to make data entry easier. It's going to make things easier. It will. It's inevitable at this point. We're seeing it in a lot of other industries. So
Right.
the advice I give a lot of these individuals now is really understand how to deal with people.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, because you can't AI won't be able to read a room for you. It won't be able to have conversations for you with individuals,
Yeah.
and those are skills that it'll never be able to take away from you. So as
Yeah.
you develop yourself, understand how to build, but understand how to build people, understand how to manage people, and deal with conflict with people. And if you can really focus on the people part, I think a lot of these younger individuals are going to be super successful
Yeah.
as it
That's, I
continues
mean,
through.
that's an interesting tie back. I mean, we started this conversation about mentorship, extremely important. We both believe it. It's extremely important. And, I think one of the themes or one of the threads that came out from that was, hey, seek out mentors, seek out
Yeah,
as many mentors as you need. Mentorship is extremely important. But the other thing is, you just said is, hey, AI is going to be able to do a lot of things. It's going to be able to enhance your job, but it's
yeah,
not going to be able to do your job. And if you can't deal with humans, and I often say this, my job, I'm a recruiter. My job would be really easy if I didn't have to deal with humans, because people do stupid things all the time.
yep,
And and the end result is, I'm like, okay, let me see how I can try to fix that. But if you can't deal with humans, I don't care how great of a builder you are, or how great of whatever your profession is, you're not going to be successful, because ultimately, unless you're doing everything by yourself, you're part of a team effort. And like you said, AI is not going to be able to read the room for you, or they're not going to be able to say, hey, engineer, come over here and let me help you with how to deal with a foreman or a superintendent, et cetera, that kind of
yep,
thing. So yeah, that's that's very sage advice there. And it wasn't a direction that I thought you were going in, but it is actually extremely, extremely important.
yeah. Yeah. You tell young individuals that nowadays, and they just go, "Oh man, the light bulb goes off." Because we're sitting in these peer groups. I remember in this peer group about a month ago, and they asked one of the managers asked, "What is AI going to do to our business? How are we going to incorporate it?" And the response to them was, it may take jobs. It really will. Like we can't hide that. It's going to take those data entry jobs eventually, and but you're going to have to be able to manage it. And so what that's going to do is help our workforce, right? And Suffolk is heavily invested in AI right now. John he's got a SEC managed fund of startups, and he has 7 acres in downtown Boston. He's building out with AI tools and all this amazing stuff to help change how we do it, to meet the craft deficit we have, to meet the talent gaps we have.
Right.
But it comes down to really how you work with people and how you work with these new tools and incorporate people into these tools. And because the tools aren't going to take everybody's jobs, or you know over 10% or however that works. You won't even notice it because we have such a deficit. It's not going to be layoffs. You're not going to see that. It's going to come
Right.
in time. We're an old business. The world's physically built, right? And you think about that, and we're late. We're late to change in construction because things work how they are, but they have to work right if we do it because we're taking on a risk for 3% profit fees, and your overhead's 2.5% or whatever that is. How that works, we take on an immense amount of risk, and to incorporate unproven technology into projects and take on even more risk, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. So it's got to be proven. It's got to be really proven until it gets incorporated and adopted, and that'll take time. So I
Right.
think to those young individuals, we're not going to see mass layoffs because of technology in construction. We're not.
Right.
It's going to help
And
fill
the
the
other
gap.
thing is, it lends to the opportunity for upskilling, right? Hey,
Exactly
like you
right.
said, AI can definitely take the job of data entry, but you still need somebody. I use AI all the time, but you still need somebody to analyze. Hey, is AI producing what I think it's producing? I mean,
It is.
so it's not.
It's a
Someday
tool.
be
Yeah.
different, but today it's not. Today it's like AI has its limitations. AI does a lot of great things, but AI also has limitations, and ultimately you still need a human there because, like you said, you're not going to see an AI robot leading a construction effort, especially under adverse conditions,
Yeah.
because they don't have any feelings. They're not going to say, "Well, Preston, come over here and let's take a walk with me and let's talk about that." No, they're like, "Why aren't you working? You know, why aren't you working?"
Exactly. Exactly right. It is. It's funny to think about and ponder on, and that's the vision I had aligned with John and Jeff is how do we change this industry for the future generations and
Yeah.
incorporate new technology. And we got a project going, Cal Poly Slow right now. We were awarded about a month ago. We're doing modular student housing, and I think it's about 5,000 units, and it'd be a 7-year project, and it's a lot less craft on site, controlled environments as we're building these modular student housing units. But incorporating things like that that'll help solve these deficits. It'll change it. You're not gonna see it on every project because it doesn't make sense on every project.
Right.
But when you
Right.
can do a cookie cutter project and you're good with that, and maybe university student housing is one of those opportunities that it's going to see that, or we're going to see that grow. And we're seeing a lot of other universities interested in what we're doing at Cal Poly Slow. Those are the things that are going to help offset the challenges we're facing right
Right.
now.
Right. Right.
So
So, Preston, what are your final thoughts for our audience today?
I'd say lean in. You're empowered. You're empowered to change your life. You're empowered to change your career. And if you don't feel you have the support to do it, there's a lot of great companies out there. And that's something that, some as a recruiter, you've seen it. I have moved around in my career, I haven't left companies. I've left leaders, and it's okay to do that. You're a paid professional, and it's really important to find a place you feel you're supported to empower yourself and advance your career and life and do the best for your family that you can. Because end of the day, like to your point earlier, you retire and it's about your family, and how do you help be the best you can be for your family and be happy doing what you're doing. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of that opportunity out there.
Absolutely. Amen. I love that. I love that thought. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, Preston. For those of you watching this podcast, I hope you receive some great pearls of wisdom. And I hope you'll join me for my next podcast coming soon.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Preston.